why Scuderia Ferrari has the answer ready for Red Bull in Formula One. While waiting to discover the effectiveness of the work done on the SF-24 EVO, and to understand the novelties that will be proposed by the Austrian team at the upcoming Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at the Imola circuit, the Maranello team conducted the shakedown last Friday of what rightly is considered a 2.0 version of the Italian car for the 2024 Formula One Championship. Several areas of the car have undergone aerodynamic restructuring to extract more potential from the red machine. It's worth mentioning that in the era of ground effect cars, much of the performance is guaranteed by the vehicle's floor geometry. This is a major component on which we still have to wait until the next F1 Grand Prix to learn more. Ferrari engineers have made a tremendous effort to bring to the track as soon as possible a solution that would follow the Red Bull idea conceived by the brilliant mind of Adrian Newey. We are talking about the shark inlet in order to optimize the airflow under the car and increase the outwash effect. The RB20 was presented in mid-February, but it was only from the first races that we began to understand the real geometry of the microscopic air intakes in the sidepods, hidden under a sort of tray cleverly camouflaged by the images released at that moment. As usual, the historic Italian team started designing the development of the SF-24 even before the Formula One Championship began, studying this solution even before seeing it on the Red Bull car, thanks to the information gathered from former Milton Keynes technicians who switched to the red side in winter. After verifying the correlation between wind tunnel and computational fluid dynamics, work began. Studying solutions is always important, as it allows replication of the setup through reverse engineering. The Ferrari Racing Division has evidently tested the integration of interesting concepts from the competition through an interesting design approach. An F1 season is a race of developments that requires constant adaptation and improvement to increase the performance of the car. Before the season, teams develop their cars for competition through design and simulations, hampered by limited on-track testing. The teams arrive at the first race of the Formula One Championship with the fruits of preseason development work. But this is by no means the finished product. The cars are sort of prototypes, and during the F1 campaign, they continuously evolve through mechanical and aerodynamic changes. A simple question arises during the development of an F1 car: how much will the assumed changes allow the car to be faster? The teams have several departments within their respective factories that must cooperate to create the final product. To ensure effective cross-functional collaboration, the leaders of these units meet several times a day, in quick stand-up meetings, to discuss progress and needs. F1 teams are a benchmark in terms of organizational clarity, enabling speed and agility. In this regard, team principal Frédéric Vasseur's work with Ferrari has been phenomenal. Already during the previous campaign, despite the SF-23 being a project with certain significant structural flaws, the team managed to produce a significant development by compressing the realization time by 2 weeks, bringing the B version of the car to the track at the F1 Grand Prix in Spain. The new SF-24 EVO version also represents the result of an agile, adaptive design approach, to which the team is becoming accustomed to operating. Incorporating ideas from the competition into one's own car development concept is by no means a simple exercise. There is firstly the risk of invalidating the efficiency of the update package in the simulator, studied immediately after acquiring the first on-track data. Furthermore, it requires compression of the initially set timeline as the design diverges from the initially assumed one. Ferrari, therefore, has decided to change its approach in this regard, starting to work in F1 according to the following paradigms. Improve information flow through regular, interactive collective meetings. Delegate decision-making power and autonomy to individuals and teams. Provide frontline collaborators with the information they need to make the right decisions continuously. Improve collaboration between F1 working groups by creating effective cross-functional teams. Building solid communication channels between them. Maintain lean processes and simple rules. Trust collaborators and free them from unnecessary rules designed only to prevent some extreme cases. Optimize your product development lifecycle by reducing learning time. Let data drive decisions. Create a blame-free culture where technicians are encouraged to experiment, and most importantly, adopt a systemic thinking perspective when learning from failure. Based on the above principles, which are not only organizational best practices, the French executive, team principal of the historic Scuderia Ferrari, has revolutionized sports management, and thanks to his organizational and leadership skills shown in this abundant year at the helm of the Red Team, has managed to maximize the team's effectiveness in terms of performance and product implementation. Thanks to this, and the clever readiness of technicians from Red Bull, the SF-24 is the first car that in a very short time shows an aggressive solution from a competitor. For many and different reasons, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix weekend at the Imola circuit will be very important crossroads. In the 7th stage of the 2024 championship, many aspects will converge that could adjust the balance of power on the field, which we will most likely see until the summer break. The Enzo and Dino Ferrari circuit has very little in common with the Miami track, and for this reason, it lends itself to being an important test of the verdicts issued 2 weeks ago in the United States. The first, and among the most anticipated, concerns McLaren. Lando Norris didn't just win the Miami Grand Prix. Together with Oscar Piastri, he confirmed that the MCL38, with a significant upgrade, was the overall fastest car on the track. Not in all conditions, Max Verstappen secured pole position twice during the weekend, but in race pace, Norris excelled without much doubt. After the American race, opponents posed a question that will find an answer during the Imola weekend. How much of the performance seen in the Miami Grand Prix was linked to the technical upgrades brought to the track by McLaren? And how much, instead, may Lando Norris's performance have been influenced by the car's good adaptation to the layout and conditions of the track? The B version of the car seemed to have solved the top speed issue, and even the management of the hard tires used in the latter part of the Grand Prix was perfect, demonstrating greater aerodynamic load. If Imola confirms what was seen in Miami, very interesting scenarios will open up for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. However, the spotlight will be on the Ferrari garage, and it couldn't be otherwise since the Scuderia will bring to the track the first significant upgrades of 2024, tested last week at the Fiorano circuit. The revised SF-24 car has, for now on paper, all the ingredients to be a turning point in Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz's season. In Maranello, they took all the time necessary to carefully evaluate how to improve the project, considering also the basic qualities of the car that allowed Ferrari to start the season with a good trend. The objectives are clear. So far, the SF-24 has proven to be a car with excellent tire management during the race, at the expense of a tire warm-up that requires more time compared to Red Bull. This aspect has somewhat influenced the performance in qualifying and in restarts, both after pit stops and at the end of a safety car period. Among the targets of the update is also an improvement in performance in slow corners, and the timing of the arrival of the upgrades seems perfect, considering that a few days later, Formula One will stop in Monte Carlo at the Monaco circuit. Red Bull, as is obvious, can only confirm itself. After the Miami race, the team confirmed a loss of performance by Max Verstappen in the second stint of the race due to an off-track excursion and contact with a cone that damaged the bottom of the car, resulting in a loss of performance. The question that the Imola weekend will have to answer is whether it was really just an isolated incident, or whether in Miami, as also appeared from Max Verstappen's team radio, something with the hard tire race pace didn't go as expected. All of this fits into a new scenario, where at the moment the new variable, seen in Miami, has been the growth of McLaren. If it hadn't been for Lando Norris, Max Verstappen would have celebrated his 5th win of the season 2 weeks ago, with or without a dislodged cone, and this is precisely the most interesting topic on the eve of Imola. On the evening of March 9th, at the end of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the second Red Bull double, within 7 days, had suggested a replay of last Formula One season. 2 months later, the picture's a bit different, not so much in the fight for the world titles, but in the chances of the opponents to aim for individual stage victories without having to hope for unexpected events or exceptional conditions. McLaren and Scuderia Ferrari, aware that they don't have championship objectives, are positioning themselves for something more than just a passive second-force role, without the possibility of bothering those ahead. The first highlight came from Lando Norris in the Miami Grand Prix. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix weekend will help understand if it was an isolated incident or if we are expecting, somewhat surprisingly, a slightly different championship than what was hypothesized 2 months ago on the warm evening in Jeddah. And maybe with two teams ready to seize the moment every time things don't work perfectly at Red Bull.